What's up guys, it's Patricia from tarantulaheaven.com. Today we're going to talk about what I feed my tarantulas. I get a lot of questions about what to feed your tarantulas and what mine eat. Before I get any further, Miss Spidey, my Girosea, is in the background of this, or in the back of this tank. She's currently busying herself with hunting a cockroach, so I don't think we're going to be seeing much of her today because she is stalking it right now. So she is also not my only tarantula. I do have a baby Arizona blonde sling who is currently underground for I guess the whole winter. They've just been making tunnels and I haven't seen them in quite a while. So yeah, so Blinky won't be making an appearance today, but maybe Spidey will. I don't know. I wonder if you guys can see her. I'm not sure. But anyway, so I often get asked about what to feed tarantulas and what I do with mine. This isn't even just from tarantula owners, just the general public likes to ask what they eat. So I'll answer this in a basic way for those non-tarantula owners who are curious, and then I'll answer it based on my own experience. So tarantulas can eat a variety of things. They are opportunistic feeders, especially in the wild. So you might see videos of tarantulas eating things like mice, lizards, frogs, possums, birds, and like any other small creature. And that's because in the wild, they will. They don't know when their next meal is coming and they are in survival mode. In captivity, they are often fed bugs. And this is generally safe across all species, whether it's Old World, New World, arboreal, or terrestrial. So these bugs can be a variety, things like locusts, cockroaches, crickets, mealworms, superworms. Bugs are incredibly cost-effective, nutritious, safe, and practical, and that's why they are a very popular option. A lot of these feeders can be found at local pet shops. The shop that I use is Ill Exotics, which is where I get my cockroaches from. They can also be ordered and shipped online. So this is what I feed my tarantulas. Tried a few different feeders. I have tried crickets, which was my first one, and I've also tried superworms before landing on my preferred one, cockroaches. So the reason that I tried crickets at first was because I was a new tarantula owner and that's what the pet store fed her. This wasn't a great option because they were too fast for her, but also because they weren't very practical for me. They would often die in a few days, even if I was taking really good care of them. So if she was fasting, for example, or if she couldn't eat them fast enough, they would just die or they would eat each other, even if they had food in their little tank. So this made me have to keep going back to the pet store unnecessarily. And so I didn't really like this. I also found the crickets really gross. They smell very bad and they're noisy and they make their tanks just very dirty. So to me, this wasn't really a good option, and so I was searching for something else. So I moved to a slower feeder because Spidey couldn't catch the crickets, so that's when I landed on superworms. Unfortunately, superworms had many of the same challenges as crickets. They are smelly, they're gross, they do gross things in their tank. Can you sense a theme here? But also, they didn't last much longer. I mean, of course they would last longer than a few days, but they would also eat each other even when they had food to eat. And they would only last like maybe 2 to 3 weeks, even if I was taking really good care of them and trying to keep them alive until Spidey was able to eat them. So while they were easier for Spidey to catch, they were also pretty inconvenient, especially since Spidey likes to fast so much. These things just would not last until her next time that she felt like eating again. Luckily, feeders aren't that expensive, but I was wasting a lot of time and money just having to keep buying new ones because the old ones couldn't survive. The superworms would also do really gross things in her tank. Sometimes if Spidey couldn't catch them, they would like burrow. Sometimes they'd get lost in the substrate, and that is just not something that I want to risk with her in case she molts, and that is also not something that I want to have happening in her tank because I really like to avoid doing complete tank changes as much as possible because she doesn't really make much of a mess. So I don't like the idea of live worms just making the tank gross. But anyway, so I eventually settled on dubia roaches. This was after somebody suggested that a less fatty feeder might actually help regulate her appetite a little bit. And I actually tried to avoid using the cockroaches for as long as possible because I think cockroaches are gross, but I actually have really warmed up to them. I mean, I still don't like cockroaches, but they are the best feeder in my experience for both me and Spidey. I love that they are not smelly or dirty. They don't do gross things in their tank. They don't mess up her tank. They don't burrow, in my experience, and they don't do gross things in her tank. So even if one gets away from her because she's fasting, it stays on the surface so that I can pick it up and take it away. It doesn't burrow, so I don't have to mess up her tank digging for it. They also keep themselves alive very, very well. I had started with like 5 original cockroaches, and Spidey ate a few of them, and then 2 of them made babies, and now I have several generations of cockroaches, and I've had those for like 2 years. They don't die easily. Very few of them die. And so when she goes into her fasting periods, I know that I have cockroaches that will get me through her next feeding period. So especially in a pandemic, it's been really useful to not have to worry about going out and getting feeders and things like that. And she also really likes the cockroaches. They're slow, they don't burrow, so she can catch them. And also I did notice that appetite actually did become quite a bit more regular since I got her off of the superworms. So I feel like it's been a great fit for both of us. Now there are different types of cockroaches. I use dubios because that's what my local pet store, Ill Exotics, has. But there are red runners. You can get a bunch of different ones. How I take care of the feeders, they're very easy to take care of. The cockroaches can pretty much survive on very little, and I just give them like produce scraps. I give them vegetables or fruit scraps. A lot of times I'll give them potato slices or apple slices, and they're just very easy to care for. They've been the most low maintenance feeder for me, and they've also been the easiest to keep alive. As you guys know, cockroaches can pretty much survive anything. So they've been a good match for Spidey. And the other thing that I loved is that because they're now making generations and having babies, I can use the baby cockroaches for Blinky too. So that's really, really nice. So I've had the best response with cockroaches for my tarantulas. It's really about what works for you though, and what works for your spiders. Some spiders prefer one feeder over the other, and you might have different circumstances than I do with your tarantulas and the type of feeders that are available to you, as well as your own preference. Maybe you're an expert at keeping crickets and worms alive. I am not, so I'm gonna stick with cockroaches. But anyway, I'd love to know your experiences, and I hope this was helpful to you. And I also hope that it's helpful in highlighting that sometimes it takes a few tries to find something that works, but don't let it discourage you. It's all about the learning process with tarantula keeping, and you're going to be a better tarantula owner than when you started. This is all part of the journey of growth. So I hope that was helpful, and I look forward to reading your comments. I will see you next week for Tarantula Tuesday. Take care.